Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. About a couple of weeks ago, I actually rewatched this movie. I forgot there's a sequel that I really did not like all that much, but I remember I rewatched this film a couple of weeks ago. It's a film that I saw years ago, basically made off of the recommendation by a particular YouTube channel that I love. He doesn't just do horror, he does a lot of low-budget stuff, a lot of really cool stuff with some really quality videos. His channel is called Good Bad Flicks. He did a video about this movie, The Houses October Built, from 2014, found footage movie about an hour and a half long. And his video is so informative about this movie, but don't go watch it until you watch this movie. I'm a big found footage guy. I'm a big fan of Halloween haunts, you know, the jump scare houses that people pop out in your face like a spirit of Halloween. People can't act, people are not really that actually scary. The only reason people get scared by this stuff, like myself, is because we don't like animatronics, we don't like puppets, we don't like giant spiders that can jump over tables at us. And that's basically the gist. The atmosphere inside of these buildings are really fun. If you love this kind of thing, or if you're a fan of the other found footage film series I talked about, the Fear footage, 1, 2, Curse of the Tapes, and 3 AM. If you're a fan of those, I think you'll really, really dig this. This might be up more your alley than anybody else's movies, but mainly because it has more of a budget behind it. It's still kind of a low-budget movie, and it has some issues with it. Very few, though. It's more in the plot that I can't spoil, just so you know. But The Houses October Built is essentially named after, you know, the old saying of like how New Line Cinema was the house that Freddy built, for example. I really like this movie, and even watching it this time, even though not... Let me try that again. Even though I knew what was going to happen in this movie, watching it this time I had just as much of a fun time as the first time I ever saw it. And again, you might want to reconsider before you watch the sequel, because the sequel kind of ruins what this movie does. This movie's very intense, it's very eerie, but there's a lot of humor in here. That improv acting a lot of found footage movies have can sometimes really flop and kind of, you know, crap the bed a little bit. This one doesn't. These people are really fun to watch. Basically, you have a group of people who are all friends. I think it's like 3 or 4 guys and 1 girl, and they decide to go on a trip to look up the extreme haunted houses people are talking about. They start to hear about this other one in particular. I think it's called like the Blue Mask or something, the Blue Skull, something like that. And they also, while they go from place to place over like the course of all these days leading up to Halloween night, they keep encountering all these different people and all these weird kind of stalker-like people as they go from haunted house to haunted house. And again, these are more of the jump scare houses. We don't just hang out outside of them, we go inside of almost every single one of these. And even the interviews they do on this movie are pretty much real, which is not like in a joking way, like they're actual real interviews a lot of the time for this movie, from what I understand, assuming that information is right. I think it is extremely effective. If you love the jump scare haunted house things around Halloween time, or as they're called typically, just haunts, if you love that kind of thing, this movie is for you. It's fun, like I said, because of these characters here. I really like their chemistry amongst each other. They feel like an actual group of friends. The director and his brother, I think, who also co-wrote this with the director, Bobby Rowe. Bobby Rowe is also in the movie, so he has a lot of work he had to do. The camera work and stuff are kind of your typical issues that you have with found footage movies. And the writing is not massively strong because it's more of improv acting, you can tell. But I think even the characters, mainly with the girl character, are very well realized. And they work. They just all work into a really fun and really creepy, intense movie. One of my favorite things about this film, when it comes to the casting, when it comes to some of the things they encounter, there's one particular girl who looks like a doll that's had its hair plucked out, and it's just a mask over her head. She's genuinely scary, and I think it's an actual real actress, if I had to believe, that it works at probably one of these haunts or something. I don't know. But this girl's body language, the way she walks around, the way she just stares at people, she's genuinely frightening. The outfit's creepy, she's creepy, it's just a great thing. It's one of the most memorable things about this movie. It's probably why she's also part of the poster here, in my thumbnail you saw, and in the second film, because she just really stuck with people like myself when I saw this movie. I'm very glad that people really stood behind this movie and really cheered for it, because when they did, like Good Bad Flicks, I found it and I really fell in love with it. It's a really good flick for the most part. Like I said, it has its flaws. And with the issues with this movie, it kind of has a little bit of a lackluster ending. I think the ending is not really that satisfying. It's kind of not really teasing a sequel, but the fact that there is a sequel that kind of ruins this movie is kind of a bummer. And it's a fun watch, don't get me wrong. I like that second one too. It's pretty eerie. I might rewatch it soon. I might even put up a review immediately after this. I don't really know. I'm going to think about it, but I kind of don't want to watch it because of how rough that one is, but what's the point of not just reviewing a series that has 2 movies? You know, I might as well. I'll debate it. I'll think about it. But for now, The Houses October Build is a very well-made flick. It's well-acted for the most part. It's decently scripted, I think. That's all very much a nice fitting thing. There's not really any music, not really any CGI or stuff. It's mostly just practical effects, but it's really just people in costumes coming after you. It can get a little confusing in the finale, but I think it's not going to confuse everybody. You know, the first time I saw this, I had to ask a couple of questions. I had to kind of sit and think about it for a second, put 2 and 2 together, then realize I'm an idiot. It did make sense, but it can be a little weird sometimes. Let's see. The look of the movie. You can tell when they're inside of the haunted houses walking around. It is with like GoPro type cameras, like a straight up camcorder type of thing. Supposedly they had to like redub the music and stuff and redub the sound for that, from what I understand from Good Bad Flicks, and I think I'm getting that information right. I dropped my phone, sorry. From what I understand, that's the case that had to happen, and it really fits. You know, if you've seen online videos like people going through like The Nun at Universal Studios or something, or the Halloween jump scare house and stuff, if you've seen that done before, you kind of get how if you recorded walking around inside of these places, a lot of the time your sound's going to suck when you come out and go to watch this, or just the visual part, because it's so dark in these haunts, your video stuff is not going to look the greatest, so it's kind of nice that only about 10 or 15% of this movie takes place in these places, but I still really enjoyed it. I have a good time every time I watch this. Out of the 2 or 3 times I've seen it now, it really does know what it is, and it does very well at being what it is. That's really what we should rate movies on to begin with. For me personally, with the very few flaws involving the plot towards the finale, I really like it. I think it's a good setup. I think most things in this are very well executed, very well done. If I had to rate The Houses October Built, number 1, of course, I do recommend it, but if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, which I typically do, I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Very solid flick, very, very much an October Halloween feeling movie. And if you like that kind of thing with those kinds of themes, this is for you. If you're interested or you've never heard of the extreme haunted houses things where people like kidnap you and pee on you and stuff, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. You should show this to your grandparents if they don't have a clue about it. That would be hilarious. Anyway, very tense movie, very well-made movie. Have you guys seen this film? Have you seen its sequel? Put all your thoughts and comments down below. Don't spoil the second movie in the comments of this one, though. Just in case other people go through the comments, they haven't seen it yet. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about both of these movies, though. It's a very interesting thing. The sequel takes a very interesting idea, like I said. We'll get there when I review it at some point, anytime soon or in the future. But that one's a misstep, in my opinion, personally. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this film? Put your thoughts and comments down below once again. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. 4 out of 5 stars for me. I stand by it. Really good flick, for the most part. Goodbye.